kind is more important than being right. What people need is not a brilliant mind that speaks, but a caring heart that listens. Many a time I've had a conversation with somebody that I've simply walked away from, thinking to myself, that is not a kind person. Why? Because that person in their conversation with me had to prove that they were right and had to have the last word. So next time you have a conversation with somebody, actually listen to what they are saying with caring and kindness. And talk about caring and kindness. Here's the most caring and kind rabbi. Here's the rabbi.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary, yes. We begin a new book of the Torah. It's Exodus, it's Shemot. And we are introduced there. Our wonderful and great personality, Moshe Rabbeinu. But how did all started? Can you imagine? We just are reeling from the last Perashat of the book of Bereshit, and then we are talking how much Yosef did for Egypt, not only for his family, but for entire Egypt, because somehow he took care of to make sure that Egypt survives and all the surrounding by devising a method of how to make sure that everybody can last those 7 years of famine. And he was praised by Pharaoh. All of a sudden, now the Torah said that a new king arose who forgot Yosef, whether he forgot what he did or he made himself that he forgot. Many times people, they don't know how to be grateful for kindness that had been bestowed upon them. And in this time, Egypt and Pharaoh decided, and with all kind of excuses, to find that, the people, the children of Israel, they might join our enemies if we have a war, and finding out slowly things fomented to hate and so on. And it's very important to the character trait of what we call being grateful. It's important to keep in our mind, because whatever we do or whatever somebody does for us, we constantly have to think for ourselves, for our soul, that we should adopt and constantly reviewing this character trait of being grateful. And if everybody is grateful for somebody else's kindness, this world would be definitely much more kind, and we would get along with everything. So now the Torah begins by telling us Moshe Rabbeinu start how he was, if you read the Perashat, how he was saved from being drowned in the Nile through his sister Miriam, and then through the daughter of Pharaoh, and we know how he became Moses and so on. It's very interesting to know that being the leader that he was, par excellence, that he was the lawgiver, he was the one who was appointed by God to represent him and to bring the people of Israel from slavery to freedom. He was somebody who could not speak very clearly, a stammerer, somebody who was heavy to be able to speak, stutterer. And it's very interesting. We know that people who are in government, if you want to be a great politician, oratory ability is most important. A politician, if he is devious and so on, he can get away with murder practically. He can go and twist things and tell you half truth, and he will tell you seriously and so on. They have the ability to be able to speak and communicate. And here is the Torah chosen Moshe. Moshe is kvad peh ukvad lashon, and that is really heavy in tongue. That means that he was not was not a great communicator, in words and so on. And yet God selected him. And why? Very simple, in a way we could say that, politicians many times they are so able to be able to persuade people with their ability to communicate and to speak. And we might think for a moment that Moshe Rabbeinu, why do we even have the Torah? And we were persuaded perhaps for somebody who could be able selling us. But the message, the most important thing of the Torah is that we love the Torah, and the Torah speaks for itself is because of the message of the Torah and not the messenger. It's nothing to do with the message, but the message of the Torah itself is what made us what we are, the people with a responsibility to the world and to communicate it to the world. Now, why was Moshe chosen? What was so special about Moshe? What was his qualification that he was chosen to be the leader of the Jewish people and to bring them out from slavery? The Torah gives us a few vignettes. One of them is that, he was the person who would fight and take the side of the defenseless to defend them. And we see it in the Torah in a few vignettes that the Torah portrayed for us. One of them, when you see somebody that is trying to injure practically to death an Egyptian to a slave Hebrew, and he goes and he hit the Egyptian, and he buried him in the sand. Practically saved the other Jew. Now we could say it's not uncommon that you will be able to come at the aid of somebody like that who is of your kind, to your brethren. But then another case the Torah brings us is when two Jews are fighting, and when there is dissension, he doesn't like it. And what happened is he tell one, why do you hit the other one, and so on. And they said, who appointed you as a judge? Against that, to the point is you are going to kill us like you did kill the Egyptian. Can you imagine how Moshe felt? So it's another situation that he came across, and he was not deterred from that, because instead of getting reward for that, he had to flee, and he went to Midian over there. And then you see another situation by bullies who were then, instead of taking their turn, they were by the well. They did not let the daughters of Jethro to take water to feed their flocks, so to give drink to their flocks. And what happened here, that he could have simply mind his own business. After all, they were non-Jews among themselves, but not. What he sees that to right a wrong, that was part of his makeup, and therefore God chose him because of that. That's why all the little stories that the Torah portrayed there. And another thing that the Torah said, and our Rabbi interpreting the Midrash, and Rashi brings it, is the fact that it said that he was a shepherd for Jethro, and what he did is he used to take his flock at the border of the desert, not just so that should not go into the into other fields, to pasture that doesn't belong to them. And therefore he was very particular. It just in doing the right thing at the same time, very righteous. In that, those are vignettes that the Torah brings to tell us what type of personality Moshe was. And the other thing is, one of the most important things is that Moshe never had a slave mentality. He grew up in the palace, and even though he had to flee and he went, but he was V'haish Moshe, the man Moshe. He was that person who always wanted to make right what was wrong, and it was for justice. And this is what the greatness of Moshe Rabbeinu. And you know, it is a lesson for all of us that Torah want to portray to us, that many times, even though we are sophisticated, many times we have a mentality of you know, like a slave mentality, not of the physique of our body, but in our mind, that if we go after honor, after money, after so many things that we want to desire, here is the Torah telling us that you have to have that kind of mentality, no slave mentality, that you are tied by so many things, but to be able to be free and follow the righteous path. Shabbat Shalom.